People, what's the matter? They showed you on television the other day.
There was New York.
It was only on television. New York was a load because they came to
Elizabeth Street was noted for Italian immigration.
That's why. But then they went to New Orleans.
Right? Wasn't Elizabeth Street noted for Italian
fishing.
immigration? So say that.
I don't know that.
Well, say that.
San Francisco.
Well, Jamie's going to talk about that.
Jamie, tie it in somehow. Like just.
My dad just said, tell my mother to talk about when she went into the city with her mother. He didn't say anything about Elizabeth Street.
Oh, it was on TV.
Elizabeth Street on that Italian bench.
Oh, okay.
I don't think we need to talk about Elizabeth Street because it has nothing to do with that.
Yes, it does. Her really
nothing to do with me.
She spent a lot of time there.
We used to go there almost every other week.
Who lived on Elizabeth Street?
All her cousins, Mary and Aldo.
Okay, so
She had cousins.
Let's start this.
yeah.
Just don't make a big thing about Elizabeth Street.
Just Frank, the first time we're going to ask you about your jobs, how many jobs you had.
Right.
And then Jamie will ask you about the time Lily went into the city, is that right?
How old were you? No, but you can say, how old were you with your first job? Was it 8 years old, 9 years
I
old?
was 14.
Okay.
No,
My first big job.
Yeah, but you wanted to talk about all your previous jobs.
Okay.
Okay, let's start.
Okay.
Okay.
Ready?
Yeah, start.
Okay, here we are again interviewing Lilly and Frank for the family history. Today is February 21st. This is our second session, and we're sitting in our backyard here in Las Vegas, Nevada. And Frank, we're going to start with you this time. How many jobs did you have before you actually became the well-known Brooklyn butcher that you were?
Quite a few. From my early age, my mother's favorite words was, go out and get a job. Believe me, and I did almost everything. I probably forgot some of the things I did. But the biggest thing and the longest before I became a butcher was shoe shining. I used to shine shoes a lot. Then I delivered bread for a long time because my uncles were in the bread business. Had to get up 3 o'clock in the morning, work till 7 o'clock at night with them. They fed me one lunch, that's it, period, and $1 for the day. I think it was like, my God, I think it was 16 hours for $1. But you know, I used to. They made me do all the running around. Like we in the morning, especially, we delivered to the homes, and some of the houses were 4 stories high. I had to go up there just for one loaf of bread and put it by the door, and I think they charged me a nickel for it.
So you used to leave the loaf of bread outside the customer's door?
Oh yeah, you're not going to wake them up 6 o'clock in the morning, 5 o'clock in the morning, tell them they got bread.
And how did you get paid for that?
I got paid $1 a day.
But how? I mean, did your boss paid you for that?
That was my uncle. That was a relation.
Your uncle.
It was my uncle.
And what was your uncle's name?
Tony.
One was Uncle Tony, the other one was Uncle Charlie. My mother's 2 brothers.
Oh, okay. Now, did they have a bread business?
Yes, Marabito Bakery.
Ah, and where was that located?
In Brooklyn. It was on Atlantic Avenue. The last time it was on, and it was in I forget what part, Ridgewood.
And is it still there?
I doubt it.
And how long did you work for your uncles delivering bread?
Maybe about. It was just one day a week because I had to go to school. Because I'm talking about I was young, like 8, 9, 10 years old, and maybe 2 years.
Okay. Jamie, you want to ask me?
So what other jobs did you have, other than that?
Okay, what did I say? Shine shoes. Oh, I delivered flowers, especially around Father's Day and stuff like that. I delivered flowers.
Mother's Day.
Mother's Day. I'm sorry, I should have said Mother's Day. And gee, I had it written down because there were so many. I hope I don't forget them. But,
what was your favorite job, though, of all of them? Did you have a favorite that you really liked?
I can't say any. I guess it was I guess it was shining shoes would be the favorite because there was always, when I was shining shoes, there was always about another 10 kids shining shoes at the same time.
And where did you shine the shoes? In the street?
Right on the corner, busy street, Fulton Street and Rockaway Avenue. It was very busy because it was an elevator station and a subway station. They had to get a transfer from the elevator to go to the subway. So hundreds of people would come down the train to get to the subway. And a lot of people used to stop them. I used to sell them all kinds of things. I think I was selling them flowers right there on that corner too. That was a busy corner.
So what led you into being a butcher? How did that happen?
My Uncle Tony. They delivered bread to stores. This was a butcher shop and a grocery store. And he needed a good, honest kid to work in a butcher shop. And my uncle says I got a nephew who'd be good. I always got along very good with my Uncle Tony, and he liked me, and I worked hard, I guess, for him. I don't know. But anyway, he recommended me to the, Tom Sala was his name, the butcher shop. And I went there, I was 14 years old, December 10th, 1942. I remember, we were in war now 6 months. And I got the job there. And it was...
And how old were you then, Frank?
14 years old. And you know, I learned how to cut meat. I was forced into learning how to cut meat fast because butchers were scarce. A lot of butchers got a defense job, otherwise they got drafted faster. And so he had no butchers. So he had me cut meat 6 months after he hired me.
And then, Yvette, did you know at that time you think that's what your life's work would be?
I don't think so, but when I was 16 I knew it. Because he sold the butcher shop to his brother, a younger brother, and I loved working there then. Then I loved it because it was a difference. It was completely different. The brother was much younger, he acted younger, he talked younger and everything. He used to take me all over. They liked me so much. They took me to the fights, to the wrestling matches. We even went roller skating. And by that time, I was keeping company with my wife. You know what you call keeping company. I used to meet her outside the butcher shop, walked 3 blocks to the station, and then took the elevator home, and she went home by herself. That was dating my wife at the time.
You better tell everybody what the elevator was. It sounds like you just took an elevator upstairs.
A BMT line.
What's
it's
that?
It's the train that runs outdoors. Not subway's underground, and a BMT is above ground.
So the elevator train is an above ground subway.
Right.
Okay.
That's the BMT they called it at that time.
So, Grandma, tell me about your trips into the city with your mom when you were younger.
Well, we went by train because my father would never come. He wouldn't drive to New York. And with my Aunt Mary, my mother's sister, the youngest sister. And we went to my aunt's house. My grandmother lived alone for only a short time, and then she was back with my Aunt Laura. And she was a good cook. Actually, he was. And she was always sickly, but he made the most delicious meals. And he bragged about it all the time.
Who's he, your grandpa?
Huh?
Your grandpa?
No, that was his uncle. That's our uncle.
Mm.
Aunt Laura's husband?
Yes,
Yes.
Uncle Gus.
Uncle Gus.
Yeah.
Okay.
And he was kind of, I don't know if I should say, like a bookie.
He collected numbers.
Numbers.
Yeah,
Right.
that was his way of making a living.
That's what I was laughing at when I watched that show, you know. And what are the, he was first of all Neapolitan, so he used to make the things more richer.
Fancy
And
food.
yeah, and he thought he was the best cook in the world, but he was a good cook.
What was the meals that he made? What special kind of meals?
All kinds of macaronis with different kinds of sauce on it, and he loved to make his raviolis. He used to make them by hand, you know, fresh
And
raviolis.
probably meat there.
Huh?
And he probably had meat.
Yeah, or cheese, mostly cheese. Yeah.
And,
Mozzarella was the big thing. That was the
Little
you know
Italy.
it today, Little Italy. So
They sold
mozzarella was the biggest thing, and all the food.
So when you went into the city, what did you go into the city for?
to see her aunt, that's
To see
it.
your aunt?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
We
They
spent
slept
a
there.
whole day.
They
No, very rarely.
Oh, no.
And what's your aunt's name?
Huh?
What was your aunt's name?
Laura.
Laura.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Laura
And her
was
husband was
in-
Gus?
Huh?
And her husband was Gus?
Gus, yes.
Gus.
Yes, okay.
Yeah.
And he's the one. He never really worked hard because he collected numbers. He just hanged out on corners and bars and here and there, and they came to him.
Does that mean like statistics?
Like
When you
what?
say collected numbers, like
Yes,
Yeah.
they bet numbers. Say you have a dream, 194.
Oh, my mother
You
was.
said, gee, I dreamed of 194 Autumn Avenue yesterday. I'm going to play it. And they go in and they would
God
play.
bless you.
If you played $1 and it came out 194, you got $500. He got 600. He kept 100, and you got the 500.
So
Plus they-
essentially, it was gambling, is what
Yes.
it was.
Oh yeah. It was
Yeah.
against the law.
Uh-huh.
And you know the funny part is how they got the number from the racetrack. how much cash taken in at the big A. The last three numbers would be the numbers that come out.
So like lottery? I'm confused.
Well, they had to get a number.
A number for what though?
Instead of picking a number out of a hat, they used the three numbers of how much money the racetrack took in. They called, and that was it. Say they took in 1 million so much, and the last three numbers was 194.
Way off track.
Off-track betting. It was like an off-track betting.
Well, if only that was legal. Off-track betting was legal. This wasn't. But
I was just
but
going to say that.
they didn't.
Keep my mouth shut.
They didn't get after that too much. You know, they couldn't do. There was bigger things, gambling, that they worried about more than that, the numbers. And who played the numbers? The poor people.
My mother.
A lot of people played 10 cents, not even $1, 10 cents.
And wasn't there like some guy that would come around door to door to collect for the numbers?
No, not really. They stood on the corner. They stood at certain places, and you go to them. They didn't go to you.
And what happened if you won? Did they come and give you money?
You go to them to collect it.
Oh, okay.
And you know they all had good memories. They didn't mark anything down because they were scared they'd get arrested, and they got the cops had proof they were taking numbers. It was all in their head.
Okay. So Lily, when you went to the city and then stayed with your aunt and uncle, where did they live in the city exactly? What part of the city was it? Do you remember?
Little Italy.
What?
Little Italy.
Oh, Little Italy. Oh, that's
So it was Elizabeth Street.
In Manhattan.
Italy, yeah.
Was it Manhattan, Elizabeth
Oh,
Street?
yeah, Elizabeth Street. Yes.
And
Mulberry Street was more famous.
Mulberry.
Yeah,
right.
It was
That's
a block
what they had.
away.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, they had all the good food there. And
All the good
there
restaurants.
was Restaurants there.
Is it still like that today?
It is.
It is.
There's
yeah.
there's not
Now
as
it's
many,
gentrified.
but there's still like that. I know people that will visit New York. The first thing they want to go to Mulberry Street for their food there. There's about 2 or 3 really famous ones now. Used to be 10 or 12, no more now.
How was the
I went-
pastries?
Oh, the pastries were
Out of this
fantastic.
world.
Nobody went to Manhattan without picking up pastries. The people I know had it.
Every
Cookies.
kind you can think
We
of.
want to stay on the food a little bit because we
Yeah.
like the food.
Yes.
But was
So-
Aunt Laura, was Laurie named after Aunt Laura? Your
Yeah.
youngest sister was named
Yeah.
after Aunt Laura.
Yeah.
Was she the
Oh.
youngest of Aunt?
No, she was the
She
oldest.
was the oldest.
She was already dead by that time, so that's why they probably named her Laurie.
Oh. No. Oh, yeah, that's right.
Yes, yes, she was there.
I met them once or twice.
So going back to the cooking, let's just talk about food again.
And food.
So, Lily, what was the favorite dish that your mother made?
Chicken soup.
Chicken soup.
Because
It's-
I hated everything.
Oh.
I was a very bad eater. Unless I could have candy and a cake. Candy and cake. I
And
love-
chicken noodle soup.
and
But what
chicken
else did
noodle
she make though, even if you didn't like
She,
it?
she made mostly the sauce. The
So
meat,
mostly Italian?
different- Yeah, the different meats in the sauce that I liked.
Mhm.
And she made the worst meatballs in the
They were.
That's okay.
They were like rubber.
So that's why I didn't like them.
And Frank, what about you?
my
What
father-
about your mom? What did she make?
My mother was a great cook.
Yeah.
She made the best
She can make the
meatballs.
She can take the lousiest vegetables, vegetables that look like they're going to rotten, and make a good meal out of it. There was 10 people she had to feed. We had no money, so there was very little bit of meat until I became a butcher. Then they got everything. But even at 14 years old, I was bringing a lot of meat home. As a matter of fact, I was bringing meat home for my aunts and everything, and my uncles. They're bringing. That time was rationing; they couldn't get a lot of meat, so pick me up this, and that's to bring it. I bring it. My boss, I'm sure, charged them money, but me, I didn't pay anything for it.
So yeah, did your boss just give you the meat for free?
Yes, yeah, and
Was
but
that in
I
addition
didn't
to
take,
your?
No, I didn't take expensive stuff. I took like 3 pounds of chopped meat. At one time, my mother used to make 65 meatballs on Sunday morning, and she was lucky if she had 6 left over to put in the sauce, because all of us ate the meatballs like 10 o'clock and 9 o'clock in the morning. She was frying them, and the smell throughout the whole house was so good. And then my uncles used to come over. They would eat about 3 apiece. And there was only, my mother used to hide the 6 because she figured it would be all gone, and she had to save it for my father. But, and we ate very little meat at the beginning. On a Monday, I could tell you, it was always chicken soup, or eat a beef soup, but it was always mostly chicken soup. Tuesday, it would be lentils with macaroni. Wednesday, it would be macaroni maybe with broccoli or pasta fazool. Thursday, we would have sauce. Every Thursday and Saturday, every Thursday and Sunday, when it was like religion, we had to have macaroni and sauce.
Now, did you always have Sunday dinner at home around the table? Was that pretty much the
Always.
standard?
10 people at a time.
Mm-hmm.
At 1 o'clock in the afternoon, which was very early. And the bars used to open up at 1 o'clock, and I used to go and get for a quarter, get a big gallon of beer, and bring it home in a pitcher. I used to go, and I used to get the quarter, and we had the beer, whoever drank beer. My sisters, I remember I used to want a glass of beer, and they always gave me a hard time. But then I think they made me taste a little bit.
Yeah, that's what they used to
Do you remember how your mother made the sauce?
You know, we didn't have no heat in the house. We had a potbelly stove. That's where we did all the cooking. And so my mother used to get up 7 o'clock, 6:30 in the morning, and she'd start the sauce at 6:30 in the morning, and she'd cook it like for 6 hours before we even eat it.
Did she use canned tomatoes or fresh tomatoes?
No, canned tomatoes.
Canned.
I don't think it was fresh tomatoes. Maybe in the summertime when we had a lot of tomatoes, but we
Right.
didn't. The tomatoes, the fresh tomatoes, my mother used to always make salads with them, with the olive oil and onions and stuff like
So
that.
both your mothers primarily made like a tomato sauce or a marinara sauce,
Yeah, the
right?
Sicilian
Yes.
style.
Yeah.
Both of the Sicilian was mostly Sicilian.
And what kind of
style.
pasta did you usually have, like say on a Sunday dinner?
The biggest thing that I liked was ziti. Baked ziti. We never even made baked ziti until later on. I never
Yeah,
heard of baked
same
ziti until I
as-
was married.
Yeah.
But we all kinds of macaroni. Very little bit of spaghetti. None of us liked spaghetti. Later on in the years, I love spaghetti now. But it used to be the fancy macaroni where you paid a little more money for it. Like mezzani, mezzita, and stuff like that. Ziti was the big thing.
And is that when you used to buy like La Rosa and Ranzoni and
Yes.
that
Yeah.
sort of
Paramount was big.
Paramount? Yeah.
Yeah.
And what about you, Lily? Your mother too made a marinara sauce and then it's
Oh,
pasta?
yeah.
Very
Well,
little of marinara sauce in my house.
Yeah,
Very
my
little.
my
No
father
such thing.
was always with his stomach, so for him she always used to make a special sauce, marinara sauce most of the time. And then she'd make another pot for us with the meat in it. And once in a while he used to feel good, he would have meatballs and the meat that's in there. He loved, I forget what his favorite meat was. But anyway, that was
Probably
the
veal.
time.
More like-
The veal, that
Sicilian
was the
people
big-
love
God
their
forbid
veal.
If he had pork, veal was, and you could get it. Veal cutlets were out of this world. I can remember them till this day. The smell when she would make.
Do you remember
them.
how much you would pay for veal? For veal
No,
cutlets?
no, I was
Do
too.
you have any
young.
idea like what it might have been compared to today? Where it's like
Oh.
$1,000?
60 cents a pound.
So 60 cents. And what is it today?
And that was good veal. Well, today,
If you got good
today,
veal today.
today they merchandise veal different. And years in Brooklyn, veal in the butcher shop was one of the biggest sellers, especially where I worked. Veal was is the biggest seller in the veal and Italian sausages was the biggest seller, and it was very reasonable. But today in the supermarkets, and especially back out west, you see very little veal. Now in Florida, they pay $30 a pound for veal cutlets. But it's pretty good veal, I gotta admit that. And there's a butcher shop here, right here in Vegas, that charges $42 for a pound of veal cutlets. It's right over, not far, right by the Suncoast, across the street from Suffolk.
Really?
Trevally
Oh,
Village.
I know.
The
It's
butcher
shop.
shop.
Oh, yeah.
I know. Yeah.
Yeah, there's a they charge
The
like
restaurant and butcher shop.
$42 for a pound of veal cutlets.
Yeah. So basically, your Sunday dinners consisted primarily of sauce and some kind of a pasta, and every Sunday, the whole family tried to sit down together.
Yes.
Now, how did they pay the bills for that sort of thing? Because obviously, you both came from somewhat, poor families, like
Right.
everybody else did. So was there a lot of credit used in those days? Did you
Yes,
find
there was
things
in
on
the grocery
credit?
store. I used to go to grocery stores.
Oh,
There
yes.
was always credit.
They
It
had
was
a
a corner
book.
store.
Yeah, they had the book and they put your,
Yeah.
your name in it and address.
And you know what's funny? They had a book, and say you owed $11.30, and then you spend, say, $2, they'll change to $13.20, but they leave a space like that so they can add another number in. They do, believe me, but we had to watch because they would add it. They would cheat too. And there was a lot of going on because they got stuck with a lot of bills too.
Oh,
Now, what
yeah.
about your pastries? What kind of pastries did you eat?
No pastries. We couldn't
No
afford
pastries.
pastries. We couldn't. Later on, maybe when I was 20 years old, we ate pastries. But I'm talking about as a kid. No such thing. You had bread and butter was my mother's famous words.
Lily, what about you?
My uncle, cousin Mary's.
Uh-huh.
When they used to come, my Aunt Laura
Right.
and Mary and my Uncle Gus. He used to come in at the big breakfast
Pastries.
like that. The
Talk
best
louder,
in
I
the
can't hear you.
whole world.
They were good.
And my mother used to couldn't wait for them to come. Sometimes they used to call get in touch with us the last minute. I hope they bring the cannolis. I hope they bring the sheep cocoa. And it was delicious.
So it was a treat. It was a treat to have.
Yeah,
It was
we
from
loved
Elizabeth
it.
Street and
Yeah.
Mulberry Street.
Yes,
so that's why.
yeah.
They were noted for their pastries.
They didn't care for Mulberry Street that much. They liked
Elizabeth.
Elizabeth, yeah. They were more a family, and the food was better. And that's where they had the angels on the feast day.
Fortunata.
Fortunata. Not Fortunata.
What was the big?
Immaculate Heart, the Immaculate Heart of Mary's. No, not the
She's
Immaculate
getting it
Heart.
wrong. We don't remember the name of the church. It was on Mulberry Street.
No, that wasn't. Not this. Had nothing to do with the church of the name of the church.
I know that, but that was the
The
feast of
statues come through.
Louise, you
On
got
the
it wrong.
15th. What's the Blessed Mother's?
The Immaculate Conception?
Immaculate Conception.
Okay, Church of the Immaculate
The fact
Conception.
it shows it in all those statues of the Blessed Mother.
Okay.
Okay.
Carried through the
Did
streets.
you watch that part?
No.
Oh,
You know the funny part
of
is, would you believe it? We watched it the other night, and I can't believe it. The Blessed Mother was nothing in America. The Italians made the Blessed Mother everything. As a matter of fact, the Irish, they used to be ashamed of the Italians because they made
Yes.
such a fuss over the Blessed Mother. It looked like they were making more of a fuss over the Blessed Mother than Jesus. And they built a church.
They couldn't
They
do that.
didn't even want the Italians to be in the main church. They put them in the
the
basement.
basement. I can remember
This-
going in the basement.
This is so what did the Italians do? They brought the Blessed Mother outdoors, and they made parades with the
That's
Blessed
what
Mother.
the feast
And put money, and that's where it got really, really big.
Yeah.
By the way, what was the church? What was your parish? Do you remember when you were
Saint
kids?
Fortunata.
You were Saint Fortunata?
Yes.
And Frank, do you remember your parish?
Lady of Loretta.
Okay.
And it was Italian mass, Italian church, Italian people.
Uh-huh. So it was primarily Italian neighborhoods for both of you?
Right,
Yeah.
right.
Okay.
Yeah.
How did you feel about leaving the Italian neighborhoods? Did you ever leave?
Well,
Did you ever
by
have
that
friends who
time-
weren't Italian?
Yeah,
Well,
but
we-
at that time it
not
was
many.
different altogether. Like Mulberry Street didn't stay as nice. Well, parts of New York
Changed
weren't as
because
nice. They changed.
all the Chinese moved
Yes.
in.
Yeah,
That's
but you were in Brooklyn though,
Oh, still nice.
right?
Oh,
I
in
mean-
Brooklyn, yeah.
Yeah, so your neighborhoods in Brooklyn were
yeah.
primarily Italian.
No, she come from Jewish and Italian.
No, but
No.
Frankie. we
Lily, I
had
worked
a-
there, Jewish and Italian. And
Yeah, but we had nothing to do with the Jewish.
I know that, but there was still a lot of
We didn't
Jewish
buy
and
their
Italian.
food. Not
There was
only
one block
that,
away, there was a load of Jewish
Scotty-
people.
I mean, we didn't have anything to do,
That has
any
nothing-
reason to go into
That has nothing to
there.
do with the question he asked you.
But nevertheless, though, there was Jewish people who lived in the
Right.
neighborhood, Jewish
Oh,
and
yeah,
Italian.
yeah.
Right.
Whereas your neighborhood was more primarily Italian, Frank?
Yes, and Irish, a little bit of
And Irish, okay.
Yeah.
We
Now-
weren't far from the Lady of Lords, which mostly all the Irish people.
Okay,
As a matter of fact, I did my communion confirmation, the Lady of Lords.
okay. Let's talk about that for a minute. Your communion and confirmation. What are your memories of that? Your recollections, both of you. Do you remember receiving your first Holy Communion? How old
Yeah.
you were?
I don't remember how old I was, but I was not young, like 7 years old.
You were about 7 years old.
No, about 8
Uh-huh.
or 9.
And was that at St. Fortunata?
Yes, yeah.
Okay. And do you remember any details about the day? Was it
Well,
a party?
I loved the white dress. I loved the veil, and I used to go around. That time, you used to go around, visit your aunts and uncles, and so that they
They
could
give
give
you
you
money.
$1 or half a
That was
dollar.
rich, I used to get a quarter.
Yeah. And that was it. But I used to love to walk around with them, and I can remember some boys, they used to call me stupid, and it's so dumb you believe in that, and all stuff like that. They were the bad boys. And sometimes I used to cry, but most of them just ignored them, you know. But I used to walk around. There's no way anybody was going to take us with the car because there was no car. So you walked it. And
In your communion dress?
Yeah,
Or
yeah, with the veil and all.
so like leading up to it, leading up to your communion, or on your communion day.
Communion Day, they go to visit all their relatives.
Okay.
And then you wore it almost every Sunday, and you had a special mass downstairs.
So you would wear your communion dress and veil for like weeks after that to Sunday Mass,
Oh
then,
yes.
right? Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Because they didn't have that many clothes, believe me. Let me tell you mine. 'Cause
Okay.
mine is really interesting. What I wanted to say now, I almost forgot about it. Well, anyway,
You're
the
talking
most
too much.
important thing of it, I went with all the neighborhood boys to Lady Loretta to get to be taught about the communion
Just real quick,
confirmation.
where was the Lady of Loretta? Where was that? Do you remember what street that was on? in
Yeah,
Brooklyn?
Sacrament and
In our neighborhood.
my neighborhood was Sacrament Street, and I don't know if
I
it,
don't remember that.
it could have been
Picking.
Liberty Avenue. I'm pretty sure
Okay.
Sacrament
Picking.
towards the Jewish neighborhood, which would be Bronzeville,
And Lily St. Fortunato was where? Was that on Linden Boulevard?
Russell Street,
Yeah, and
In
it
Linden
used to be down in the
Old Mill.
old mill.
Right. Okay.
Yeah, and then they
built a new
finally
church.
got enough
Right.
money to raise it,
Okay.
get a new church.
So Frank, how old were you when you received your communion? Do you remember?
Well, in Italian church, you had to be a certain age to do communion, and in confirmation, you had to be another certain age. I think
Yeah,
2 years
older.
older. But what happened? I'm sure I passed the test to have my communion cup. But in order to pass, you had to give the church a $5 bill.
You know.
You had to give the church a $5 bill, and they gave you a ribbon on your arm. But that's about it. But we didn't. We didn't have the $5 bills, so I couldn't do my confirmation. My cousin, who didn't pass the test but had the money, so he passed. He did his on his own. But anyway. So I couldn't do it. So my mother went to Lady of Lords. I told you there was another church by, very big church. It was supposed to be a rich parish. She went there and told them about this and that. Well, they made me do my communion. I did my communion confirmation in one day,
Yeah.
and they gave my mother the money to buy me a new suit, shoes, and to get the
Oh, that
missal,
was nice.
get the ribbon, and everything. And I did. And what I remember most is when I did my confirmation and communion there, you get one sponsor from the church. Whereas Lady of Loretta, you got somebody to sponsor you. Of 100 kids, each one had their own sponsor.
Uh-huh.
But that was Italian style. American style, you get one sponsor, one neighborhood man sponsors the whole 200 kids that do it. I don't even know his name. But anyway, I remember mostly when you get up off the seat and you walk around the church and march around. And I remember I passed my mother, she was crying like a baby, and I remember that the most.
Lily, what about your confirmation? Do you remember
It was
anything about
beautiful. It was beautiful. I just loved it. I'm not saying that because, but I really loved it. A lot of kids, they hated it, and they hated it. And then there was some snot-nosed kids, too, that had money. Their families had money, and they'd always have a remark, "You're so stupid. Yeah, you believe in all that." And it
I
didn't
never heard
bother
stuff
me.
like that.
Oh, yes.
I never heard, yeah, I grew
See,
hanging
I
out
love
with
when
bad
these-
boys, and I never heard of things like that.
Okay, don't interrupt. Let's move on. Don't when the other person's
All right,
talking.
before
Don't
we
interrupt.
I loved it. I
Before
loved
we move on to
How they met.
the next romantic period of your life,
Oh, my
any other quick recollections, last-minute memories, anything you want to say about you growing up before you became an
The
adult?
beginning years.
Anything that you remember from school or work or anything that stands out? Anything at all? If
No.
not, it's okay.
Yeah, the bad part at that time was when my sister Kathy was born, and she was bad. You know, they hurt her during the delivery, and she was brain damaged. That was the thing that bothered me a lot. That was during the beginning of the war or towards the end of the war. Yeah, towards the end of the war.
World War II.
Yeah, World War II. And
How about you, Frank? Any other
How
recollections
long
before we
did
move
she
on?
live? Wait, can I say how long did she live in the house with you before the institution?
about, a good 5 years.
Okay, so those years were hard.
Huh?
I got less than that.
No, she was pretty
Yeah, don't
big.
you
There was nobody. The Gamada, she's the one
I know.
that got through with the doctors.
Okay, then that's, I don't know.
She helped Grandma.
Because you don't know. You weren't there.
Yes, I do, Lily.
You don't.
I was keeping company with you. I used to see you.
All right, well, that leads us to ask you this then. So how old were you both on your first date?
Well, no. How did they meet?
Oh,
Okay,
what's a
well, yeah,
Yeah.
how did you meet?
Well,
Yeah,
she used
that's
to
true.
come to buy the meat in the butcher shop for her mother, do the shopping. And I was working. I was just an order boy. I was maybe 15 years old. She was 12. And my boss's daughter was Mama's age, maybe a month or two younger than Mama. And I mentioned to her that I liked that girl, you know. And she knew Lily, so she mentioned it to her. And before you know it, she made arrangements for us to meet. And we met. We walked about 2 blocks, and that's it.
And you were 12 and 15 at the time.
Maybe 16, and she was 13. I'm
Okay.
not
What
sure.
was the name of the girl that introduced you?
Margie.
Margie. Margie.
Okay,
So wait. Would you go every day to the butcher shop? Did
No.
you?
No.
What
Oh,
did?
maybe twice a week.
How did you feel about? So he obviously liked you, but how did you feel about?
Well, I
Did you
wasn't too
recognize him?
thrilled. Yeah, I liked him, but at that time I really wasn't into boys. You know what I mean? And we were a bunch of girls. We had so much fun playing baseball. The blocks that had the streets where the cars didn't go through. Nobody had cars in those days. They had them, but
Not
very
much traffic.
few. Not mu- So
So he had an eye for you,
Yeah.
but you really didn't
care.
care.
Well, I was older than her.
But how often did you go to the butcher shop? So how often would you see each other before you started keeping company?
Maybe about twice a week. I told you, she would walk with me at 6 o'clock or 6:15 when I quit work. We walk up 4 or 5 blocks to the elevator station where I take the train to go home. And then I went on the elevator and she went home. That's it.
Did you ever have a real first date, like what you really call a date?
Maybe went to
you
the
remember?
movies. Yeah, probably
Do you
the
remember
movies.
anything about it? Either
And
one?
we went to the ice cream parlor a lot.
Oh, that was my favorite thing, going to
Right.
after the movies, we used to go to the ice cream parlor. Oh, I loved that.
So how old were you when you actually started dating? Like
13.
past
No.
meeting?
No.
I was actually, she really was only about a little over 13. That was because when I was 16 years old, the butcher shop was sold. My boss sold it to his brother, which is a younger man, and I loved him. He was great. His name was Emil, and they couldn't get butchers, so I was very valuable to them, and I was a good worker, believe me, because they kept giving me gifts like mad with money, and he took me all over, and I took her. She was only 14 maybe, and I was 17 or 16 or 13, I'm not sure. We went to the wrestlers, we went roller skating rings, we went bowling, we even went to burlesque shows in New Jersey.
Wait, you went to burlesque shows?
Burlesque shows in New Jersey.
You took a 13-year-old girl to a burlesque
No,
show?
she was 14.
Oh, she was 14. And then she was in the
I
show.
didn't want that. That was his brother.
That was this man. He took me all over, and they went with their wives. They went with their wives, and I told you they were very close with
They
me.
were like comedy shows.
They
It was
loved
like,
they loved me in the butcher shop. I felt comfortable there, and so
Yeah.
I really fit in the crowd. They took us. We went to a burlesque show, but there was no cursing, that much cursing.
What was the famous
Half of the time she didn't even know what
Gypsy
the
Rosalie?
Did you Rosalie?
Yes, she was. She was really. They didn't. You didn't see any skin really, right, Frank?
No, we seen it, but not. It didn't bother. She probably closed her eyes.
Yeah, I did.
Oh, yes, I remember it well.
He took us to good restaurants. This was a Saturday night. After we closed the shop and everything else,
So what? Grandma would come to the shop, and then your boss would take you guys out?
Yeah.
Huh?
We didn't get home like till 2 o'clock in the morning.
Wow.
Yeah, but they knew the mother-in-law, her mother and father knew me, and they knew I already met them, and everything was. They knew she'd be safe with us.
So when was the first time you met Grandma's parents? How did that happen?
Well, everybody knew about it. Her aunt Mary knew about it.
My grandmother, she
Her
loved
mother and
him.
father never came in
He's
my
a
store,
good boy.
so
He's
they
a
don't know
good
even
boy.
know. But they heard from the neighborhood. In the neighborhood, it had a good reputation. They heard from the neighborhood. All her aunts came to the butcher shop, So I knew all her aunts. When she had about 5 or 6 aunts in the neighborhood,
Nice.
and so they knew me. And her Aunt Mary knew me well. Uncle Dee, her uncle, Mary's husband, they all knew me, except her mother and father. So they heard stories about me, so when we did meet, it was very easy. Oh, then we got engaged. Oh, this is a good story. My uncle, who got me the job in a butcher shop, Marabito Bakery it was, my Uncle Tony, we had a big engagement party in our house. All our aunts, I told you, was 6 in the neighborhood, and their uncles, they all came. My Aunt Rosie and uncle, and I don't think any of the Marabitos came.
Not that
Oh, Aunt Rosie came because
Yeah,
Uncle
oh,
Les
yeah,
made the
Rosie,
beats.
yeah.
We had a crowded house, and they bought, my uncle made the Sicilian beats, a thick one, and was noted for it to be one of the best in the whole city. And it was
Now,
a
this was
big
your
hit.
engagement party?
Yeah, in our house. It was
Okay.
a big hit. And
And how old were you then?
I had to be 17 and she was 14.
15.
For maybe, oh, it could have been just before I went in the Navy, then I would be 18. No, I was 17 going on 18. This was in September or November. I was 17 going on 18.
And I was 14 going on 15.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So wait a minute.
In those days, they got
You had the party
engaged
before
early.
Bus Scouts.
They got engaged very early.
So wait, did you not get married till you got back from the Navy?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's when we only got married in church. We did get married in before that.
Well,
In
yeah.
November.
We got married in November. We got married in church because they all bitched about us not getting married in church. Plus her, she was religious even when we were going out. So she wanted. So we made arrangements to get married May 16th in church, Lady Loretta.
And what year was that?
It was
48?
5 months after I got out. 4 months or 5 months after I got out of the Navy.
Was it 46 or 48?
No, it was 46.
No.
so-
But when did you get, first you got married by Justice of the Peace, right?
Right in Connecticut.
And in Connecticut?
Connecticut.
Yeah.
We went to Connecticut.
Wow.
So wait, did you elope? Was it a secret marriage?
Yeah,
Yes,
well,
yeah, kind of. That part
Yes.
was, yes,
Yeah.
secret.
We figured she was pregnant. Well, that's her fault, though. She kept
Oh,
saying,
sure. It's sure.
kept telling me that she didn't get a period. I said, what the hell? What are you nuts?
So how long were you in the service then?
I signed up for 2 years. See, at the war was over.
So if she was pregnant, were you away when she had Louise?
No, I was already discharged
we
out of the
married.
Navy.
We were
I was-
married in
we were
a Lady
married.
in Newark.
And we
no,
had-
Lady in Loretta.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and we already had a.
So you had
No,
two
we-
weddings. You guys
Yeah,
had
we
a
had a-
whirlwind
The other
romance.
one, the first one was nothing. It was my
Really
brother
nothing.
and my sister Rose.
Today's day and age, you'd wind up in prison.
Who was your brother?
Did you tell your
No.
wait? Okay, so I have 1,000 questions. So wait, go back. When did you meet Poppy's parents, Grandma?
Oh, earlier than when I meet us.
Yeah, do you
When
remember
did you
meeting
meet?
his parents for the
Well,
first time?
What I used to do, I used to make him go in and see who was there. And I used to wait a long time before I made him bring me in. I just didn't want to go in. I was like embarrassed.
I brought her in,
Yeah.
and she used to even be ashamed to eat in front of everybody. I said,
yeah.
"Well, what are you nuts?" Because she was really a baby when you think about it. She come from a family with no brothers. Number one, that was rough, and she was very young, and she wouldn't even eat. I said, "Eat, eat."
You know, I
But-
was ashamed.
But then she got close with Rosie, and then it was a lot
Yeah.
comfortable with her.
Aunt Rosie was the one you were
Yeah.
Okay, so
Yeah.
let's just chronologically, let's just pin this down. So you started a date, then you got married in Connecticut. And do you remember the date for that wedding?
Connecticut.
Yes, and
Yeah, I
it
think
was
you said,
November
yeah.
15th, Lori's birthday.
Wow, that's interesting. So November 15th, 19...
I forget.
46?
I think it has to be. It has to be 46.
46.
And so wait, you didn't tell anyone about this marriage. It was top secret,
Oh,
or
yeah,
did
they
you
knew
tell
all
everyone?
the
Oh,
rules.
everyone
My
knew.
brother Joey and my sister Rosie came with us.
Was the
Okay.
maid of honor.
They came with us on the,
Yeah,
but
she-
we took the train to Waterbury, Connecticut. As a matter of fact, the guy wouldn't want to marry us. He wouldn't.
Why
marry
did you go to Connecticut and not New York?
Because it was easier to elope in Connecticut than New York.
Yeah, you couldn't.
New York, you have to have.
And they had
In New York, you have to have. See, dude, it was they paid. We got an the right word.
Exemption.
Right, exemption because during the war, a lot of the sailors were young and they were getting married before they were
Right.
before they were
Yeah.
21. You had to be 21 to get married in Connecticut, New York especially. But New York was strict. Connecticut was a little loose.
Okay, so that was in November 15th, around 1946.
Yeah.
46. I
Okay,
think.
and then when did you go into the Navy?
I went into the Navy 45 because I was only in the Navy. I was in the Navy only 20 months, Jack, not 2 full years. 20 months.
So you were in the Navy before you got married.
Yeah, before they
Why not?
eloped in 46.
Oh yeah, I went
Oh,
in the Navy.
okay.
Oh, I thought you got, okay, I
18 years
thought,
old,
Yes,
I joined the Navy because I was 1A. They were gonna call me within 6 weeks. They told me I was 1A to go in the Army, and we got a bunch of guys together. We said, let's join the Navy. Now the day we went down to join the Navy, something happened. I couldn't go. They went down. 5 guys went down. They all joined the Navy, and I didn't. I went the next day all by myself. I wish I would have went there because I would have been shipped down to the West Coast. Instead, I was shipped down Norfolk, Virginia.
Okay.
And I was 18 years old. February 14th, I went in the Navy, St. Valentine's Day, 1946. I still got a good memory.
46.
And they got married
then you got
in 46.
And I got married the
November
next year,
46.
all the way in late November.
So that would be 47.
Yeah.
So
Then,
the Connecticut wedding was in 1947.
Yes, and then 48.
so you were
was-
out of the Navy.
Right, yeah.
when You
no.
guys got
So
married.
Louise wasn't
Okay.
born until the
48.
following year.
Right.
No,
So
Louise,
that's
was,
a
Louise,
little
Louise
off.
was born only about 4 months after we got married in Lady Loretta.
Yeah, they got married in May of 40. Oh, you got, yeah.
You got, what year you were born?
48.
You got married May of
That's when we got married,
1948, and I was born in
In Our Lady of
1948.
Lady Loretta,
Yes.
right.
Okay,
She was
so
a priest.
first year before you were
It was
married,
1947.
Connecticut, and then a year later you got
Not a
married.
year later, it's only about 6 months later.
6 months
November
later.
to May is only about
Yeah.
6 months.
Okay, so May, that was May 17th, right?
It was on our anniversary
Yeah.
day, May 16th.
May
Okay.
16th, right.
And then along came little Louise
Right.
in August.
And you know something? We got a rented room. A rented room, one room. It was a big room. And we had the crib in there. We had a bridge table.
That was by your sister.
I'll get to it. It was my sister-in-law, my brother Patty's wife, Lena. It was her mother and father's house.
Aunt Lee and Uncle
And my
Pat.
brother Patty lived in the second floor, and the rented rooms were all on the first floor.
And where was this? What neighborhood?
Quincy Street,
Brooklyn?
Yeah.
Brooklyn, yeah, near Gates Avenue and Broadway.
Okay.
As a matter of fact, right by we were
So near
right-
Broadway and Myrtle, not too far from there?
a little, not too far from, maybe a mile or two,
Okay.
less than a mile probably.
Okay. Kosciuszko Street and that
Right,
area, right?
right, yeah. And right, as a matter
So
of
you
fact,
moved in there when? When you got married to Our Lady of Loretta?
yeah, oh yeah. So, I think
Where did you live before
Louise
that?
was already born when we moved in there.
Okay.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Then from there we got that
That was
beautiful
Aunt
house on
Lena's.
Quincy, on what do you call it? City Line, where Louise
So-
got attacked by all the mosquitoes.
So you got out of the Navy.
Yeah. Actually, I was going to ask more about that too.
Yeah, I'm a little confused. So you got out of the Navy before you got married the first time.
No,
So you weren't married when you.
when I got out of the Navy a month later in December 20th.
They got
I
married
got
in
out-
November.
And I got married in November, and I was discharged a month later, not even the 5th to 14th, but maybe about 5 weeks later.
December of 47.
But you were in Virginia.
Yeah.
So did Lily go down to Virginia to marry
No,
you?
she was still living with her parents.
So you came to New York to Connecticut.
You must have been coming up to New York to see her.
I used to come up to New York every 2 weeks, and I want to tell you something. I used to hitchhike most of it. I used to get home I left at 4 o'clock in the afternoon, maybe 3 o'clock on a Friday, and I got home at 6 o'clock Saturday morning. I was on the road for a long time. I was freezing. And then what happened, I remember, I was hitchhiking almost. I didn't have the money to go home because I was sending her money. I used to send more than half of my check. I was making what? $30 a month? I sent her $20.
So you guys were engaged
Yeah.
Yes.
at that
Oh
point.
yeah, we were engaged.
You were
before-
engaged
I was engaged when she
and-
was only 13. And I was 16 for a while. Or 17 or 14.
Yeah, you were going on 17 and I was going on.
So right before you got out of the Navy, you got married in Connecticut.
Right.
And then
I was still in the Navy when I got married.
Right, and then after you got discharged,
In
a few
December,
months later, you got married in May then
right.
at Our Lady of Loretta.
Right,
Okay.
right. And it was nice. Everything was good because, what made it bad is that, what made it bad was, what happened?
No lies.
I didn't want to I didn't want to go back to the butcher shop.
Oh,
I
yeah.
was collecting the 5220 club. You know, when you come out of the service, you get $20 a week to stay until you find a job. So anyway, my father bought a truck and wanted to go in business as a cement mason, and he had his two sons, my brother Joey and I, who were young and strong, and he wanted us to go with him and start a business. Well, I gave him money. I must not pay. I gave him some money. $200 is a lot of money in those days. He put a down payment on a car. We had to pay the loan and everything. Bought a brand new car. It was cheaper to buy a brand new than second hand. But anyway, then when I found out that she was pregnant, I says, I got to go to work now. I can't depend on trying to make a living. I figured it was easier to starve a little bit. But if she wasn't married, she can get a job. If she wasn't pregnant, she
And
can
he
get a
didn't want
job.
to
But she
work.
got pregnant, so boom.
Oh,
I told my father I can't do it no more, and so I went to work in a butcher shop.
So you went back to the butcher
Yeah,
shop.
where I went back because I was forced to. I didn't want to be a butcher.
Now,
I
the
wanted-
wedding at Our Lady of Loretta, did you have a wedding reception at that time, like, or a
No,
party or
my
anything
brother,
like that?
Patty and Lena took over everything, especially Lena. We got married, and Lena says, "Well, you didn't have no honeymoon or nothing." She called up St. George Hotel in Brooklyn, New York, and she got us a room.
So that was your honeymoon.
Yeah, and I had to go to work. Now I'm not working for Emil no more. I'm working for somebody else because when I went in the service, he hired another butcher, a young guy, and the guy stood with him for 2 years, and they did right. And I went to work for him for a little while, but there wasn't enough money for the three of us to make a living there. So he got me the job on Fulton Street, Bill's Meat Market, and so I just got the job. I was only working there maybe 2 or 3 weeks. I couldn't take a day off. So we went to our honeymoon was St. George Hotel. I got up early, 6 o'clock in the morning.
That was in Brooklyn,
and I
right?
went to,
St.
yeah, and I
George
went to
Hotel?
work.
Yeah.
I went to work. She didn't want me to go. She was crying, and she didn't want me to leave.
So did you leave her at the hotel?
No, I took her home.
No.
Oh.
I took her home.
He's a gentleman.
And everything was close. Once I got home, everything was close. So the butcher shop was
Those
close.
days they were full of roaches and.
So, Grandma, what was your life like when you were such a young girl and then you had Aunt Louise?
I loved it.
What were your days like while Poppy went off to work? Were
This
you
is me and Louise.
did you still live close to your mother or sisters at that point?
Not that far.
Oh, when we
I
lived on
used to-
Quincy Street. Yeah,
I used to walk.
You know, she was known as the neighborhood as the best mother in the world because she took care of Louise. She was they couldn't get over how good she was for being so young, and still like Lena's mother was a bitch. Well, I shouldn't have said that.
Well, she's not around. It's okay.
Yeah, it's all right. She's dead.
She is.
But she was strict. But she loved Lily. She took the list. She says she never seen a mother better than my wife. She was so good with Louise. She
It
did
was so-
everything with her.
It was so
Went to
funny.
the park every day.
It was so funny when they had to hang out the diapers. She used to get me so nervous. I hated to hang them up outside.
She got nervous because she was very stern.
Yeah. And then she used to come in. It had the small round sink I used for the
A
water.
small
was
sink
good.
what you have in the bedrooms today.
Yeah.
Small
And
sink.
maybe a little bigger.
That's where we got
And
our
she
water.
used to come in,
Check her.
check everything, and then take the mop when she used to do the floor, the steps and the floor. Oh, that's when I used to cry.
This is a good story.
Were you afraid of what she would say about your housekeeping?
No. Well, that didn't bother me
Well,
because
they
I
bought her,
knew I
but she was very
good.
stern. And
Okay.
But she used to praise me
Because you did a good
without
job.
No,
Because she
it
seen
is.
such a good
said,
job.
Yes, I didn't
She was
know.
nervous, but she was doing a good job.
Especially when I
And
used
you
to
wanna
hang
laugh?
out the diapers. I'd see
She would check the diapers.
You know
Oh, to
what
make
I-
sure they're not stained?
You want to laugh? I had
No
to
Pampers.
I had to have an alarm clock because I had to get up early to go to work. and the place was loaded with roaches.
Loaded. In the clock.
And the alarm clock
Yeah.
was loaded with hundreds
I
of
mean,
them.
where you lived in Lena's house?
Yeah, Quincy Street, 777 Quincy Street, all 3 sevens. We were losers. Anyway, I used to take the phone, what do you call it, so I could clean it. It was some of them, a lot of
Then
them were
they used to
dead.
go in the bed.
Yeah, oh yeah.
God.
And we had to put
I was
Louise.
so worried
Louise
about
was
Louise
always had a
and
net around Louise.
Yeah, never took it off.
But she was a pain in the neck. She
She got the job in the circus.
She was never. She wasn't what you would call a good baby because she never slept.
Yeah.
My Johnny was a good baby. He was always sleeping. And my mother would hold Johnny in her arms for 3 hours.
loved that.
She loved it the first hour, an hour and a half. After that, she wanted to go, but he never woke up.
She used to go upstairs to Rosie.
And Tommy was
And
she
Tommy
didn't
was
enjoy
like
it.
Tommy.
Louise.
Well,
Tommy
he
was
was-
like me. He was restless.
And not only that, he wasn't a well cared. He was always sick. And when she used to come down quick, and she used to sit in the house holding Johnny in the house, I used to get mad a lot of times. You know?
Did Lily,
I didn't hate her or anything like that, but I used to get mad. You know, I wonder, this is my baby. I'm happy. I want to be a good mother, and she used to, and don't do this now. Don't we got to do that, and don't do this, and make sure you sterilize the diapers, put them in the pot.
You know what was good?
Oil them.
I want to say something about Anna and Tony for change too. They were very good.
Oh yeah. they
Anna
were
and Tony
very
came
good.
over.
now Anna's Lily's oldest
Oldest,
sister
yeah.
and her husband.
They
Tom.
come over a lot when we were living in that small
And she
little
used to
thing.
buy me
And they came over a lot too when we went. They had no kids though, so they came over a lot when we moved to Quincy Street. Now Quincy Street was a block with maybe only 2 houses on it where we lived. And there was this big, there must have been homes there before, but they knocked them down or something. There was this big house, this house here, where it used to be a grocery store. But back of the grocery store, they had 2 small rooms, a big kitchen and a small little bedroom. But it was very cute, very nice. But that place was filled with roaches too. But we finally got rid of it. We did get rid of it. We did good. The bad part there was the mosquitoes. You used to see the screens. We didn't have the storm windows.
Yeah, you had to buy this.
We didn't have the good screens. We had the screens, the cheap ones you used to buy. I used to look at the screen. I would see thousands, hundreds rather, of mosquitoes on the screens. Well, if you had the light in the room on. And I used to spray the screens to kill someone. But they used to get in, and maybe 4 nights a week she couldn't sleep because of the mosquitoes. Then we put the net around her, and you get up at 3 o'clock in the morning, you put the light on, you look at the ceiling, there would be hundreds of mosquitoes there. It was a bitch to
I can ask Lily a quick question. Did Frank actually propose to you? I mean, how did he ask you to marry him?
Yeah, I guess
Okay.
so.
Well, we talked about I was sending her money. I was sending her
money.
money
Yeah.
because we were going to get married.
But you had an actual engagement party
Yes,
before
so
you went into
the
the.
engagement
So
party was beautiful.
what made you propose at such a young age?
My mother bought her a set of dishes, which was nice.
Oh, well, did it?
And
My
No, but
Yeah.
what made you propose at such a young age, Poppy?
because
well, I was in the Navy. As soon as I come out of the Navy, we were going to get married.
and my father's mother loved him, and she used to tell my mother, "Be careful, let them get married. He's a nicer boy. He's a gooder boy."
Let me tell you something about. She's right, but let me tell you why they did this here. And they were all Sicilians, and Sicilian was noted for marrying their nieces and nephews and their cousins.
To each other.
Yes.
Yes, yeah.
And when she said, you know what she said, her grandmother said? We need new blood in this family.
Yeah, yeah.
So she liked the idea that she was going with me.
She was
Believe
But
me.
also, it wasn't unusual in those days for
No,
people to
no,
get
no.
married very
As a
young.
matter of fact, her family, everybody married each other.
Right.
Cousins and aunts and uncles.
I didn't mean that.
They did. Nieces and nieces
But that
married
only
their uncles.
I thought that only happened in the South.
It didn't happen on my family. Not on my side.
No, what I meant to say is that what I meant was that it was not unusual for people to get married at a young age
All
back
right.
then.
Yeah,
Oh, no,
especially
no.
during the war.
16
During the
years
wars,
old
they were
was very
getting
common
married.
age.
They were getting
for
married
women
at 15 and 16
16.
years old.
16 years
They
old.
were.
They
It
used-
was.
they used-
It was a common thing. It wasn't uncommon.
How did you propose?
I don't know. I don't remember proposing purposely. I just said we're going to get married. That's it. I just took it for granted. I guess so. Maybe I did. I don't know. I have no idea. But you know what our date was? Really, we had no money. Our date was meet her at 8 o'clock. Walk with her, take a long walk, and get home by 9:30 or 9 o'clock. And that's it. And I went back home again.
You know where the embassy was?
We used to walk every place. We did a lot of walking.
Ice cream
We went to
parlor.
Highland Park.
That's was our hangout. Yeah.
You know what?
Now, did all your sisters and brothers all get along well with each other's families?
Oh yeah, they all love Lily
Yeah,
anyway.
as in-laws.
My
'Cause
mother-
that's a lot of people to get along with.
Yes.
Oh yeah, they all.
I was,
No problem.
And they all lived in the same area pretty
Right.
much, is that
Everybody
right?
lived. My
Yeah,
sisters
yeah.
lived right. As a matter of fact, way after we were married, I got very close to my sisters because they were married and they were right across the street.
So basically you could walk to almost all of your in-laws and
Oh,
Oh
relatives'
yeah,
homes.
even my aunts and uncles, they
Oh.
all lived within the. My God, most of us all lived on one block,
Yeah.
but a lot of them lived maybe 2 blocks away. My sisters, when they
They
got
were
married,
long blocks.
my sisters, when they got married, they were like 2.5, 3 blocks away. That's all. They all stood very close. Then my sister Flora, they moved to Canarsie. That was over. That I had to take a trolley car to get there. But it
So
was easy.
that's a good point you bring. So when did everybody start to move out of the old neighborhoods like
When
that?
Long Island became very big, my brother Long Island. That's when they had. They were selling the homes for $7,000.
Yeah.
And servicemen were kind of guys
that the
came
late
right after the
50s?
war. This is right after the
Right
war.
after the war,
Soldiers
yeah.
are coming home. They had no place.
Early
In New York, in Brooklyn, you couldn't get an apartment. You had to pay money to get an apartment.
So who of your relatives on either side started to move away?
My brother Patty, he moved to Long Island.
And
Deer
Anna
Park.
and Tony.
And they moved to...
First they moved to Canarsie.
No, Brentwood, Brentwood, Long Island,
Brentwood,
way out.
yeah.
That's the further out you went, the cheap. Tony and Anna, Tony only paid $6,000 for the house.
But Brentwood was in Nassau County, right?
I don't even
That wasn't
remember.
Suffolk.
No, Brentwood
Oh,
was
that's
Suffolk.
Suffolk County.
It was Suffolk.
It was way out. It was
Yeah,
way
way
past.
out.
The
It was
homes
past
were more
Deer Park.
expensive.
And both of them, everybody moved. The only ones that moved to Nassau County had money. People didn't have money. All went to Suffolk County. You understand that?
So, because I know a lot of the family wound up living on Long Island.
Yeah,
Yes,
almost
yeah.
everybody. I'm the only one that didn't. I'm the only one that stood. Rosie and I are the only one that stood in Brooklyn.
Because of the butcher shop, really.
Yeah.
Oh, so you stayed in Brooklyn because of your work, because you had the butcher
Yeah,
store.
yeah. Oh, and I went to Long Island. Remember, we went to Long Island to look for a house.
Yeah.
We didn't have the money, and I was trying to borrow money from my uncle Tony, the baker, and everything else. But buy it under GI because I could
bet.
get all the benefits from the GI,
Right.
and so I wanted to buy a house, like a new house for maybe at that time probably about $8,000. But you had to put money down, and you have to. And then I says, how am I going to work? I don't have a car. I didn't have a car until later on. And maybe I was about 22 or 23 years old before I was able to afford a car.
What was your first car? What make?
You don't want to know.
So we do, that's why we asked.
I paid $150 for it. It was in a flood. I didn't know about this until later. And when I bought it, and like a dope, it started everything all right. It was running. When I went to put the windows down, there was no glass.
Oh,
I paid $100. I think I paid $75 for it. I don't think
what
I
make
paid
was it?
$100.
You remember what make? Oldsmobile, Chevy,
I think it was a
Ford?
Ford or a Chevy. That's all you used to
Yeah,
buy in
those
those
are
days.
most
But
the
anyway-
poor people's.
And I bought the car, and I only kept it for about 3 months, and I hated it because you couldn't even in the winter. It's winter, you froze. You couldn't sit in the car.
Yeah.
The heater worked, but the windows didn't work. It it needed money. I didn't have the money for it, so. But I sold it, but I was ashamed that I sold it. The guy I worked for in the butcher shop, he really sold it for me. He got the guy to buy it, this and that, and I sold it for $150. But I was ashamed that I even took the money. I
But
was
now at
still
this
young.
point, now we're talking about the early 50s, right? Late
Yeah,
40s,
yeah.
early
Remember
50s.
I told you I worked for 2 guys when we were young. We went to the fights there. One of those bosses sold it for me.
So when did you finally get your own place to live? And when you weren't living with anybody
on,
else?
Yes, on Euclid Avenue.
Avenue.
That's when Louise was a baby, and that's when I told
Wait,
you.
did you have John yet or no?
No, Johnny was born. We lived
51.
on Hull Street.
So Louise was born on Euclid Avenue?
Yeah, and Johnny was on Hull Street.
And John was born on Hull Street.
Right.
John was born in 51.
Yeah, we were living. We didn't stay that long, but it was a pretty place to. And we had a big porch. And we had the whole block. The only thing was being around there. You see too many dogs. Sometimes I'm walking home from work, 4, 5, 6 dogs follow me, and I was never a dog lover. Never had dogs, so I was scared.
Did you hear that?
I always
that
walked.
one about
I always
that
walked
woman
with a
that
stick in my
Really
hand.
got killed by the 4 dogs.
Oh, yeah.
That was the
yeah.
first thing that came to us.
Oh.
We said, oh my God, they used to. Oh,
So now, at that time when you were on Euclid Avenue, and then you moved to Hull Street,
Right.
were most of your relatives out of Brooklyn then, living on Long Island at that time?
Not yet.
Not
No,
yet,
no. When we
no.
lived on Hull Street, all of them still lived in.
They all still live there.
Even my sister Lily still lived there.
So really-
Lily, I think, was the one that started. My sister Lily, not my brother Patty, and then Lily. My sister
No.
Lily bought the house in a
Deer
good
Park.
part. They had money. They bought a better
Deer
house. They
Park.
bought it.
yeah, but
the
what
Deer
about
Park.
your sister Flora?
Flora moved to California. We didn't
Okay,
even
that's
count.
what I
All right,
meant.
when
I
did she
didn't
move?
know.
That's important. When did Flora move to California and
50s.
why?
Her husband, Charlie Fusco, he had an uncle that was a multimillionaire. Harry Warren, the songwriter.
Yeah.
He wrote the song You'll Never Know, the Chattanooga Choo Choo. He was a multimillionaire. And he figured it was his mother's brother. So he figured he moves to California, he could scrounge on his uncle a little bit. His uncle could get him a job a little bit and all that stuff. But
Didn't work.
he was good, but the wife wasn't. The wife
Yeah,
didn't.
she didn't want them.
They
Stuff
never
that they
felt
were
comfortable in
well
front of his
classy.
wife, but they were very comfortable in front of
Well,
him.
that must have been a big deal to have a
Yeah.
relative move to California.
Yeah, he
in
moved to
the 50s.
California.
Well, you know
They
what? After
drove
the
to
war,
California,
so
John.
many people
He had a
moved
car.
away.
He had a car and he drove to California.
Okay.
And he's the matter of fact, he's the one who drove me around to learn how to drive. I used his car. That's how I have.
So eventually, then, your sister Flora moved to California, and almost all of your other siblings moved out to Long Island. Eventually,
Yeah.
leaving you to be the last one
Lily,
in
Patty,
Brooklyn.
Lily and Patty, Rosie.
Rosie stayed on
Rosie stood right in
in
Brooklyn,
Brooklyn, right?
and then
On McKinley.
and then my brother Joey later on moved to a lot. There was always a story between my two brothers moving to California. Moving to New York, Long Island was like moving to California.
Right.
You got to take the.
And didn't some of them move to Connecticut?
No, none of them moved. We had, but my mother had a lot of relatives. She had my father had a brother in Connecticut, and my mother had a sister in Connecticut, Waterbury, Connecticut. And my father lived in Waterbury, Connecticut, before he married my mother. So Waterbury, Connecticut had a lot to do with the Puccinis.
Now, what about you, Lil? Your family then? All your sisters started to move away too, because Lucille.
Anna was the first one.
Okay,
to
and
go
then
to Long
Lucille
Island.
followed. She and
No,
Al?
Lucille was. Do you remember
She
his
lived in-
brother? They had where they had the. What did they have?
She lived in Ozone Park, Lucille.
No, but what when they got married, his brother still owned that business.
Yes.
Yeah,
Al's
what was
brother.
that?
I
Jerome
don't remember. It
Street.
was in Brooklyn. No, it was
Their
in Brooklyn.
first,
Yeah.
but that where their first apartment was right near there.
Oh yeah, I don't
Because
remember that.
But then eventually they moved to Elmont, Long Island.
yeah,
Yes, yeah.
Okay. And Anna and Tony were in Brentwood,
yeah, they were the first.
And then they
Okay.
moved to Merrick after that.
Merritt, right? And then Laurie
And
was
then he
still.
moved to Howard Beach. Then he came back. He moved to Howard Beach. He had an apartment in Howard Beach. Remember?
Okay.
But then I think from the house he went to Howard Beach, and then he went to Merrick.
Okay.
That's either one, something like that.
And Laurie was still at home.
Yeah, she
Lori
was.
was, yeah.
She
She
didn't
was
get
having a
married
good
until
time with Anna
67.
and Tony. They used to take her every place.
Okay.
She didn't get married till 1967, right?
I don't even
Yeah, because Tara was born in 69, so I think that she got married in 67.
But
So, Poppy, how did you end up with your own business? How did that happen?
well, I worked for this one guy 14 years on Fulton Street, Bill's Meat Market. He's the one who hired me when I come out of the service. I went back to work for Emil's Meat Market, but they couldn't afford to. He was my best boss, but they couldn't make it to pay for 3 butchers at the time. So then he got me a job at Bill's Meat Market, and then from there, I worked for him 14 years, and then from there, I was in my 30s, and I had 2 kids, and I says, I get no pension here. He says, I got nothing. I'm not even going to get good Social Security because he had me off the books. He had me like for $40. I was maybe making $60 a week. He had me down for $30 a week. So he don't pay much no more. He pays less Social Security, and I pay less taxes and stuff like that, right? So I said, this is no good. I'm not going to get the full benefit of Social Security at this rate. So I said, I got to get a work for a big company and get somebody who's going to pay for my Social Security, because I used to pay only a half a penny. If you made $30, you only paid 15 cents a week, and the employer, he paid 1.5%. I only paid 0.5%. So it's 2% came out for Social Security, which was dirt cheap. But you only made like $30 a week, so it wasn't much money. So I says, I got to get a work for a big company. So I got a job at A&P. And with my
Which
record,
is a supermarket in New York.
supermarket, yeah, but I worked in Bay Ridge.
Yeah.
Bay Ridge, is that?
Bay
Yeah,
Ridge.
yeah, Brooklyn.
In Queens.
No, Bay Ridge
Bay
is
Ridge,
Long
Brooklyn,
Island. I
right.
think. This in Benstonhurst,
Bensonhurst.
fancy
Okay.
neighborhood, and the other one's right by there. I worked there, and I was working there like 2 years. On one of them, I was at home on my day off, and I passed. I went to the butcher shop, Bill's Meat Market, who I was working at the time, and quit. And he talked to me for almost 2 years. No, he was at that time we were talking, but he didn't like the idea that I quit. But
And where was that located? Was that the one on Fulton Street?
Yeah, I know, and
Norwood?
Autumn Avenue.
Autumn, okay.
That was
No, Fulton and Hemlock Street. Anyway,
That was
he told me, he says, you know, butcher shop, Sal's butcher shop was for sale, which was 2 blocks away. And I remember the guy, and the butcher shop was a nice little butcher shop. He says, why don't you go and look at it? So I went. And then he was, when I walked in the store, he was somebody in the store with him, was checking it all out. He was going to buy it. So then I told him, I said, gee, if I'd known it was for sale, I would have bought it. He says, you could still buy it. This guy didn't come up with no money yet. So I says, I bought it. I went to my uncle's. I borrowed money of Tony. What a bitch.
And his husband, Uncle
Yes,
Tony.
what
Tony
a bitch.
Maselli.
Oh.
He
And
was
when I opened up the store from the first day, I did fantastic.
How much money did you have to borrow from him?
Lousy $1,500, because you have to have cash at the beginning. You need it. Now, I didn't need no money, no cash for the meat. I could buy all the meat with credit, because they already knew me from working in the butcher shops. I spoke to their bosses on the phone all the time.
Now, just real quick, where was the location of your shop that you bought, Sal's?
Mine was Fulton Street and Nichols
Lincoln.
Avenue.
Lincoln.
And where I worked was Fulton and Hemlock. So it was
Right.
only 2 blocks away. Right, Pine Street,
Lincoln.
Autumn Avenue.
You must be between Lincoln and Norwood.
I was Lincoln and Nichols Avenue.
Nichols.
So anyway, I bought this butcher shop there then, and Bill wouldn't talk to me no more. We became enemies because he thought I was taking customers away from him. They
But he
knew
told
me.
you about the shop.
2 years, I know, but that don't make. He didn't think I was going to do it. When he found out, he got upset. So anyway, he stopped talking to me, but I did good right away because the Sal was doing a little business, not much, because he was sick, and he was losing customers left and right.
So why
But
did
he
you
still
get
had
this better business then?
Huh?
Why did you do so well?
Because I was young and I was new. Then I had grand opening. I had flags outside, and I gave. If you spent every customer, no matter what they spent, I gave them a half a pound of bacon, with my compliments of Frank's Meat Market and stuff like that.
What year was that? Do you remember?
That was the year President Kennedy was shot.
Oh, that's right.
1963.
Oh, so
And that was
63.
the week I opened up when he was shot.
Wow.
That was the first Friday in the butcher shop that I was in the butcher shop. Sal was with me. I already bought the butcher shop, but he still would be supposed to stay with me for 1 whole week
Right.
to introduce me to his customers. And this was a Friday morning when we found out that he was shot. And poor Louise called me up in the afternoon at 1 o'clock to discharge her from school. She was crying like mad over the phone. They killed the president, they killed the president. So I couldn't leave the butcher shop. I said, look, Mama was working in the hospital. She just got the job. I said, Mama will be home about 3:30, Louise. Don't worry about it. Relax. Mama will be home soon. She'll be there. So anyway, and that day, my brother
So
Patty,
that time, though, Louise was about what, 16?
she was in high at St. Michael's.
Yeah.
First year in St. Michael's, I think.
No, in 63.
Maybe she was
yeah.
the second year. I don't
Second year.
Graduated in, yeah.
Yeah. Then that night, because I just bought the butcher, my brother Patty and Lena came over, which was beautiful. They really loved me. I don't understand it. But anyway, that's true. Lena loved her. They came over to buy me meat, to buy meat, my grand opening, and they come in, and but they were all upset about the president, and they came in my store about 6 o'clock. And then I started to cut the meat for them, and everything. But they wanted me. Patty kept saying, "Hurry up, hurry up! I want to go to his house to see the television because of he was out, So they went over my house. He brought a bottle of scotch to my house. He finished the whole bottle, and he went home driving, and it was fine. But he never looked drunk. He looked sober as all heck. He never looked drunk. He could drink. I don't understand. Maybe I think it has something to do with his
So
Alzheimer's
it's ironic,
disease.
though, that you opened the weekend at the Kennedy assassination,
Yes.
but it didn't hurt your business.
It did. Oh, it dropped
Oh, it
dead.
did?
It
Oh.
dropped dead Friday.
Everything
Friday
stopped.
dropped
It
dead.
was like dead.
So I was happy when my brother came because at least he spent $100. Everybody dropped dead. But I had to wrap everything nice for him because he was going to take it home. So they spent, I forget, I don't know what he spent. But then they went to my house and they ate. Lily knew they were in town. She made something to eat. And if I stood open for another half hour, and then I closed and went there. But everybody was closing early. And the next day, I did a nice business, not bad. People had to survive. Monday I closed all day. Everybody was closed that
It was the
Monday.
funeral, right?
Yes, everybody closed. And by the television set all day long.
Yeah. Now, Lily, you were working at the hospital then?
Yeah, Jamaica
What hospital?
Jamaica.
Jamaica Hospital.
Jamaica.
Okay. And what were you doing there?
Nurse's aide.
Yeah.
That's the right word. Nurse's aide.
Nurse's aide, yeah.
Uh-huh.
Why did you get a job at a hospital? You just wanted to get out of the house?
No, she sent
I think-
Louise to, she sent Johnny with your father. She sent Johnny to St. Francis, what school?
St. Francis.
St. Francis. Now, boys' high school was a lot of money. Girls' high school was 1/3 less.
Wow.
2/3 less than the boys. So boys' high school was a lot more money. So I have 2 kids now in high school, and I had to pay. Louise was cheap, but Johnny's was a lot more money. And so I said, well, that's her saying. She insists. He's got to go to Catholic school. He wanted to go to Frank and Clay Lane because all his friends went there. So anyway, he went, and it took him. He went, but he couldn't. His marks weren't that good. So if you can't make it in Catholic school, there's such a big line to get in. If you can't make it, then you have to go to the city school, and that's what he did. Then he went to Franklin Clay Lane.
But she went to work to pay
So
for
you-
the school.
She went to pay for Johnny's school.
And how long did you actually work in the hospital, Jamaica
Not
Hospital?
long.
Not long. She got bleeding ulcer.
Then they got the bleeding out.
She was passing out.
About a year and a half. So.
And where
No,
was
you're
Jamaica
not
Not
Hospital?
even. Huh?
Where was the hospital located?
Jamaica Avenue and
Hillside?
huh?
Hillside?
Close to Hillside, very close to it. Yeah. No, actually, it was. Where was I? It was right by the meat market when I was buying. The meat market was the south shore. The north part was where the
And
hospital
that was in Queens.
in Queens.
And how far away was that from your house?
On a train, 15 minutes.
So you had to take the subway to get there?
No, the elevator.
Yeah.
The
Jamaica.
elevator, and then I used to take the bus sometimes. And when the buses didn't come, I walked it.
It was right near Jamaica Hospital.
Yeah,
Right near it.
Okay. So you worked there at that time then?
yeah.
And then when did you quit Jamaica Hospital?
She had to. She was sick. Got sick. She got
I
the-
said-
Right, and when was that? Was that soon after that?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
But then I told her it didn't make no difference. Then I was doing good in business. I was picking it up. I had a hire man. That's when I got hired Bill Hall.
Oh, okay. Uh-huh.
Yeah. Remember?
But I really wanted to become a practical nurse, but I could see that it wasn't good, and I
She was
wanted
too
to
good.
be home for the kids.
She was too good.
My son
They-
and my daughter, my son.
But now by this time you were living in Brooklyn
Yeah, Autumn
on
Avenue.
Autumn Avenue.
Yeah,
Right next to
that
you,
was-
Jack.
Yeah,
Right.
that was nice there.
So 194
Four.
Autumn Avenue.
Yes,
Right.
yeah.
And you were renting an apartment from,
Oh, we had 3 different landlords at that time.
Yeah.
wasn't it Berryman's?
Yes,
They were the
did.
last ones.
But we were buying that house.
House, yeah.
We were buying it. I borrowed money from her mother. Loaned us the money. She loaned us $2,000 or $3,000 to buy that house, and was only for buying that house was only like it was very cheap. I forget what I don't remember. Maybe $14,000-15,000. It was a 2-family house. So what happened? My mother's relative was a lawyer. Galota was his name. He was a lawyer, and he screwed up the whole contract. Now we were buying it in the GI Bill of Rights. Now the GI Bill of Rights, you have to wait 6 months before they approve it. It goes through the whole thing. So these people already bought a house that I was buying it from. It was the first landlord. They already bought the house, and they wanted to move in, but they didn't want to move in until I officially bought the house. But after 6 months waiting for the GI turned it down. Now, why they turned it down? Something was not right in the contract.
In the paperwork?
Yeah. So he had to do that all over again, and we were at the top of the list now because it was rejected. We went to the bottom,
Right.
and we had to wait another 6 months, and they had a
didn't wanna
fit.
wait.
They didn't want to wait. They were getting nasty. So he says, "Okay, forget about it." And they sold the house the next day. They already had a buyer. That's why they got. They already had a buyer and wanted it right
And then
away.
did you wind up renting from the people who bought the house?
Yes. Then we were stuck there. Then eventually we moved.
Okay. You want to leave it?
To Helm.
Yeah.